AJ, welcome to Talk Satellite, and thank you for joining us today.
I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Can you provide us with some background on Outlander as a company?
Yes, absolutely. My name is AJ Smith. I'm one of the investing partners at OutlanderVC. We are a US-based fund. We are a $150 million early stage VC backing all kinds of just amazing technology, AI, autonomy, space, and more. We are usually the first institutional check. We'd love to be the first, but at any given point, we are investing into pre-seed or seed, so still super, super early. We've been first investors or early investors in 18 unicorns out of about 160 investments with names, logos. Scale AI recently in the news for that. We were literally the first check in Scale AI, as well as others like Gusto, ID.me. We put an early check in SpaceX, for example, Lyft, Wish, and more. Our approach is very unique because I believe that the earlier that you invest, you have fewer signals regarding the market adoption of a technology or customer traction and everything, revenue and everything. And so it's really more about the team than anything else. It's more about the people that are actually building. And so our entire process is built around a 38-point founder framework that helps us measure founders on vision, intelligence, character, and execution so that we can get to conviction fast and move quickly in order to back generational companies.
New space innovation has been with us for some time now. What is your take on the state of that market for investors currently as an Outlander?
Yes. So, I think that it's been very exciting what we've been seeing, especially lately, right? And I think the first new space wave was seeing what has happened around launch, right? I think it's going to be a very, very exciting moment in human history watching that SpaceX recapture, right, in the reusable rocket. And I think that, that was such an important part of giving more access to space. And now I think we're in this new infrastructure accessibility era. And this is where I start to think about, well, what does the actual in orbit and then beyond orbit economy start to look like? And so, I actually am incredibly excited about the direction that this new space innovation economy is moving. And that's something that we are constantly looking at Outlander is, where as investment themes, we're constantly thinking around, what are the themes that are going to take off in the next 5 to 10 years of this fund cycle. And right now we're looking at orbit being one of those. Stuff that's much farther beyond that when, Elon Musk talking about us being a multiplanetary species, that's probably maybe a fund 5 bet. We're on fund 3 right now, but for right now, we're really excited about the opportunities in orbit.
Okay, so recently Outlander came in as an early investor for Catalyx Space with $5.4 million. What characteristics in that business attracted you to the take-up of this opportunity?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned before, we are very founder focused. So I'll tell you a little bit of a backstory in terms of how I actually got connected with Rafath originally, because I chat with, we probably look at over 5,000 founders a year. I actually know that we look at over 5,000 founders a year. And I had met this one founder who was a little bit too late for us, but absolutely brilliant. And so I said to her, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're awesome. You're too late in your journey for me. Who is your smartest, most incredible friend that is building something exceptional? And without even missing a beat, they said, Rafath, you need to meet Rafath. And so I meet Rafath and I hear this giant vision for, this orbit infrastructure company. And I'm hearing this story from, this person who as a kid was dreaming about space and started building satellites as a teenager. His father, he basically grew up in his father's lab, lost his father early after watching launches together. And I mean, it's literally a story out of a movie. And this is somebody who, before the age of, I think, 25, as an engineer, had helped get space heritage for 25 different missions that had gone to space. And so then when I'm looking around the market, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm seeing these timelines of all of these founders who have even left, SpaceX or other organizations that want to start to build something and theoretically should have this, Elon Muskian move fast, break things and everything kind of attitude. I'm still looking at unbelievable budgets and timelines that are just very, very expensive and very, very far away. And when I met Rafath, one of the amazing things that I saw was, okay, this is somebody who's been building for space for 70% of his life, 60% of his life. And what was even more impressive when I'm thinking about, okay, great vision, intelligence, back to our founder framework, clearly incredibly sharp character, just like has never given up, had plenty of opportunities to. And that's the biggest thing we have to underwrite is, are you going to give up on your venture? But execution, the Catalyx team is executing at a pace that I have never seen a hardware company execute at. And that's really what got us to conviction in order to lead this round with some other really great investors involved.
Oh, it's a fantastic story. Fascinating. So what potential will space have for investors, kind of midterm, and the long term?
So I definitely think that we're going to see, we're already seeing, edge computing, in orbit servicing, obviously defense applications, and just more within satellite data. I'm thinking that we're going to see more around logistics, comms. We're hearing all of these pitches for data centers in space and more. And so I think that that's sort of a midterm space. And then also just getting space heritage for the technologies, whether it's for education payloads or startups or governments, whoever, all of these different organizations and groups are going to be wanting to send things to space, both for their midterm and their long-term goals. So that could be in-orbit manufacturing and supply chains. We could be talking about, like lunar supply chains. And then all of this ends up having to probably come along with re-entry logistics, right? And so all of that combined, I would say, is another reason why we're looking at, Catalyx is becoming a leader in this space, because they verticalized everything other than launch, right? If you need to get a payload in and back from space, and they've got, mission control on ground and more, this is a really exciting space to be involved in that pushes the entirety of the space economy forward.
For those SMEs preparing for potential investors, what are their best options, and how best can they attract companies such as Outlander?
I think that one of the most important things in any founder's journey is learning how to tell their story and being unafraid of rejection. And so when it comes to preparing for a VC conversation, I think the first thing is being very honest with yourself of, am I ready to build a venture backable business? Because a venture backable business requires a scale of a certain, it requires an ambition for a certain scale, because we have investors, that we have responsibilities to as a fund, right? And we also are, many of us on the Outlander team have been founders. We have grand ambitions for where we hope that we can help take our portfolio companies to. And so I think the first part of this is be honest about the scale of the business that you want to build, and then be confident and be unafraid of rejection, and reach out to everybody that you know, asking for potential introductions to investors within their communities and your community, and then expand that. And then the other thing, I think a lot of people talk about pitch decks. And so, to listeners who have maybe never heard of a pitch deck, that's usually one of the first items that you can have as your foot in the door with an investor. It's something that it's usually 10 to 12 slides, and it talks about, the vision that you have, the mission, who's on the team, the traction that you may or may not have. And sometimes if it's still, pre-revenue, pre-product even, because we do invest pre-product and pre-revenue. We cut checks from $500,000 to $2.5 million at the earliest stages, even a back of the napkin idea, right? But what that does require is somebody who is really truly a visionary and can demonstrate how they are going to execute on it. And so sometimes even just putting that down in a 10-page document, usually visual and like a PowerPoint form, and tell us the problem that you're solving. Tell us how you're going to solve it. Tell us how that's going to work. When did you start the business? Give us the timeline of everything. So then that way we can understand, the momentum that you have. We really want to understand the team. I think one of the best things that you can do to set yourself up for success if you're building a tech company is make sure that you have somebody technical on your founding team. I think a lot of founders now in this age of AI are thinking, oh, well, I can go and build a marketplace just using a lot of the AI tools that are out there. And that's all fine and great. And you absolutely can. It's really exciting. But where you might end up missing out is on that VC side of things. Many of us are looking at, well, what's the defensibility in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years. And if you don't have somebody technical on your team, many funds, not all, but many funds will end up saying, well, you know what, I'd rather make the bet on the same vision that I've seen from another team where they have a technical, a CTO. And then we want to understand, okay, well, how much are you raising? What are your use of funds? Another good place to start isn't even just in pitching raw VCs if you don't have a network, but going after accelerators. There are great accelerators all over the globe. So no matter where you're building your business, there are really fantastic accelerators. Obviously, some of the famous ones are like Y Combinator, Techstars, and many others, but there are really great accelerator programs all over the world that are a great resource to founders, especially first-time founders. And then the last piece of advice that I would give to anybody looking to potentially attract investors is to really, I mentioned this before on the storytelling, but really, really spend your time realizing that your story, and that doesn't even have to just mean about the company, but you as a person, is ultimately what's going to win people over in these earliest stages. And so learning how to tell your story, and you can practice in the mirror, you can practice with your friends, you can practice with your family, but get comfortable being uncomfortable and sharing your story and why this, why now. The last thing that I'll leave listeners with is that if you are building something really exciting, then we want to hear about it at Outlander. So come and find us at www.outlander.
AJ, thank you very much again for coming along and sharing your experience on the investor side. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kevin. I really appreciate it.
Okay, now.